Here we go.
Here we
go.
Hey guys.
It's us.
Hi.
Oh man, here we are. Man, can you believe it's like 2 weeks till Christmas?
It is surprising. That means 3 weeks to New Year's.
Right, 3 weeks to New Year's.
Yeah, that means
1 week till we start our winter break.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So yeah, good evening, everybody.
Hi.
Welcome back. It's Scuba and The RY for your weekly-ish dose of movies, entertainment, video games, and life.
Random geek talks of random news articles around the world.
Yeah, we started recording a little later than usual because Rye hadn't watched a movie yet for the week.
This was a low-key weekend. There wasn't really anything coming out this weekend. Well, that's because the big movie comes out this coming weekend, but we'll talk about that later.
Oh yeah, we'll talk about that. But I watched a movie.
Yes, you did. And then you made me watch it.
And then Brian watched it. Thankfully, it was a short film. It wasn't a very long film.
Hour and a half-ish.
Hour and a half, you know, enough. I think that's one of the things I like most about, one of the things I really like about that is it didn't try to go too long. Because, you know, sometimes movies go longer than they need to, and you're just kind of like, really?
I can concur.
Do I really need to sit here for 2.5 hours of this?
Having watched a lot of movies, as you people, if you follow Scuba and RY, know, yes, I understand. Sometimes movies shouldn't go that long. No,
they shouldn't. They shouldn't at all. No. Anyways, so yeah, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about some other random articles and things. So it may not be a long show. It may be a long show. We don't know. We'll find out when we get into it. But hey, it's a conversational podcast, which means you're just hanging out in the room with us, listening to us chat about whatever it is in life.
Anything and everything.
Oh yeah, anything and everything. So with that, I guess we can kind of get into it. You know what? I want to start with that movie and just get that out of the way because it's fresh in the mind.
Fresh in the mind. So this is actually a first where I'm doing the review on the podcast exclusively first before I write it.
Oh yeah, so this will be posted later. And if you want to watch it, read it later as well as the other ones, go to ryreviews.com.
Check it out.
Check out all of his reviews, his top 10s, bottom 5s, and all of the stuff in between. But what we watched is a movie called The Princess. Now, this came out in July initially, but it was straight to Hulu.
Yeah.
Now, I had recently reacquired my access to Hulu. I set up profiles, shared it with my son, because he now has a TV in his barracks room, so he was looking for the streaming services.
Good job.
Yeah, so hooked up the Hulu for him and everything, and then it was just, I had seen this, and I was like, I'm curious, so I put it in my list, and I finally, over the weekend, was like, you know what, I'm just going to watch it.
All right.
And now we watched it, and yeah, this is an interesting one. Right, why don't you go ahead and give us what you thought? Give us your initial thoughts on it.
All right. So my initial thoughts is, so basically, The Princess is, you hear the words, you think fantasy. So yes, it is fantasy, but it's a little bit more than just fantasy. So we have a girl who is a princess, and she's been taken hostage by a stupid, crazy guy. And he wants to take over the kingdom, and the movie starts off with the girl as a princess. You really don't know what's going on other than she's been taken hostage, and it pretty much goes from there. So think of The Raid meets medieval fantasy.
Yeah.
And that's what you have as the setup.
I mean, when I was telling Rye about this, I said, think Rapunzel meets The Raid, only instead of going up the building, it's coming downtown. And yeah, Rye is not kidding. This movie opens and you just hit the ground running. I mean, spoiler, you know, it's been out for 6 months, you know, whatnot, but it's one of those, it hits the ground running right from the start, which I appreciate, because sometimes with some films, it's like they try to do a lot of exposition in the beginning and it loses you.
Yeah.
This one, it's like they do the exposition as the story progresses. So you have these flashbacks to the previous couple of days or whatever leading up to this event.
So as you get injected in the first act, it is purposely confusing because you are from the perspective of the princess, so you're trying to piece together what is happening. So as she's slowly working her way down violently and very explicitly in the wusa type of action, you start to realize that she is not just your typical damsel in distress. She represents more of a female warrior motif, which actually gives it a little bit more levity to the typical fairy tale fantasy.
Yeah, and it feels very gritty. It feels, and actually, honestly enough, it feels very grounded.
I appreciated the action because, like you said, offline, it's not clean. It's very dirty. It's very gritty. She works through every fight she gets or faces.
Yeah, and because sometimes when you see films like this, it's like they're a little too clean. They're a little too, like, the things just happen to fall in place just a little too easily. This one, it feels, you actually feel like she worked it to get through the fight, and she was a little out. You could see that she doesn't. She's got a lot of training, but not a lot of practical experience.
She is exhausted. She gets bruised. She gets cut. But the people that she comes across gets it a little bit worse.
Oh yeah.
But it's very much a linear direction, and she's just working her way down through the tower. And you have action scene. Then you have flashback exposition leading to another action scene. You start to learn what's going on, and it has to deal with an arranged marriage that she backed out of, and the guy is pretty much pissed, who is this prince played by Dominique Cooper, and he pretty much raids the kingdom and takes them hostage, and is going to force this arranged marriage. But the princess has other ideas.
Oh yeah, so she's trying to save her family, prove herself, and get past the evil jerk.
Yes, pretty much. So you have a lot of typical fantasy tropes, but they bend in a way where it's very much self-aware. So there's a lot of cheeky dialogue that happens in between. It can borderline on simplistic, but it plays into that self-awareness, which makes the film a little bit more fun. And then once it actually crosses into the second act, it leans heavier into the action, so it builds up that adrenaline-filled adventure through those fantastical tropes.
I like how it feels like you're progressively getting more difficult.
Yeah.
Like you have the first couple of ones, and I like how that I think this is clever and appreciated, is as she goes from the top of the tower to the bottom, her outfit changes and it becomes more of what you see in the poster image and what you see at the end, where it's like she is a warrior princess. Whereas at the beginning it's the stereotypical princess outfit, and it's very pretty and clean and really obnoxious compared to what it is. And you see her, you see as she descends, she descends in one sense and ascends in another. And I think that's very clever how you see that from a visual standpoint.
Yeah, it's not force-fed. There's some convenient setups and some obvious plot armor throughout, but it doesn't take away from that adrenaline filled, and basically doesn't take away from the action, because the action is pretty awesome to see. I believe
the action's great.
Yeah, the choreography is of the wusa style, so that's what I appreciated, them bending different genres. It doesn't try to go one way or the other. It kind of is its own encapsulated story and spins that fairy tale motif with its own kind of vigor.
Yeah. So in the end, I'm gonna call it a 2.5 out of 5. It's not the most complex story. It's not the most heavy budgeted film, but it does what a film should do, and that's entertain and provide you a little escapism. And if you're a fan of the wusa films, like Rye saying, if you're a fan of The Raid, or just seeing some genre bending and whatnot, this is definitely a good time.
Just to wrap it up for me, it's very simple. There's no character development. Everything is just standard for building up that action, adrenaline, adventure, spinning genres. So overall, even with the very predictable, it's still fun, but a good time to watch at home. 2.5 out of 5 for me. You get the rating ahead of time, people, instead of reading. So
then we'll see if he changes his mind as he writes it.
Then I'll write it and be like, this is crap. Who knows? Probably not. 'Cause I already started writing it, so once I start writing it, I don't generally change it.
Yeah. So yeah, that was our entertainment or evening activity, was getting that film out of the way. But
yes.
now we're working on our way toward Christmas and the end of the year. I was commenting right before I went to dinner. It's like, you know, I sat there and I've wrapped up more of my end of year stuff, updated some meeting times and meeting schedules, and
lots of stuff.
Oh man, this week has just been crazy. We're doing a big training at work this week, and I'm presenting on Friday, and it's like I keep revamping, and my team has sent me their training stuff for me to review. So I took a first look at that, and I'm gonna be doing some work on that to try to get. I mean, my team did a great job for a first time with a project that they weren't very familiar with, or because it was a change in the kind of the thought process of what they're used to. I felt they did a good job, and now it's because I've spent more time doing trainings. I can take it a little bit further, but I mean, I know sometimes it could be like, well, if you're just gonna do all that, why didn't you do it yourself to begin with? That wasn't the point. The point was, I'm changing my department. I'm redesigning my department.
Yes,
with the blessing and the support of other people. I'm redefining the department, and as such, it means we have to kind of shake things up. We have to kind of challenge them and move them. See, can they move to where I want to take it?
Yeah, you are stuff that you've mentioned to me off the air. It's like, yeah, it's moving into a better direction, I think. So. But, you know, you got to see what comes out from it after the season. So, you know, base the pros and cons from it and move forward.
Oh, yeah, totally. But, yeah, that's the fun stuff we'll work right now. But, yeah, Brian, what have you been up to?
What I've been up to? Well, the reason I didn't see any movies other than the fact there really wasn't anything in theaters, I decided to do a random trip up to the mountains. So me and my girlfriend, we went and drove up to the Blue Ridge, and we took a trip through Shenandoah National Park on the Skyline Drive.
How far away is that?
It's not that far. You know where we usually go to Bold Rock? Just a few more minutes up north from there. You jump on the Skyline Drive. It takes about 3 hours to drive through. And it was I like going through it at different seasons, because different seasons you get a lot of different aspects, especially, you know, the later fall, winter, you know, a lot of leaves has fallen, but it's still a very good natural setting, because the mood is a different mood when it's in the winter. But there's still a lot of people driving through there and hiking through there. But, you know, we went through the mountains, driving around up through the elevations up to like 3,000, 3,200 feet, you know, above sea level. Got a lot of pictures from the overlooks, because it's cool, because when you're driving through there, you have different hiking trails. If you want to take some hiking trails, you got overlooks that looks at like specific mountain tops or looks into the different valleys. So you get to stop, take in the nature, kind of just soak it in. And, you know, it's the end of the semester for both of us. I was like, let's just go and drive through the mountains just to relax and enjoy the drive. So, yep, did that on the Saturday. But speaking of the end of semester, that means turned in my final paper, so I'm done for at least 3 weeks.
Because, yeah, you were stressing on that paper.
Yeah, it was a daunting paper to write, not only because of the length, but just because it's hard to write through topics when you're it's just really hard to write through topics that you are not always engaged in. Even though it was very interesting what I wrote about, it was just hard to get all that information to that paper link. But I did, so
yeah, I can understand that.
But, you know, it's an interesting topic. It's just kind of hard to get through it. But, you know, when it comes to me and writing, and I go and I put my mind to it, it gets written. So.
Well, that's good. Well, I spent the weekend in nature as well.
Yes, you did.
Not quite the same extent. As some of you've been following, you know, I've spent last few years working with the wonderful people over at Ballahack Airsoft, and this weekend was their big role play event, Revelations 12. And so, of course, I go out there and help out. And I like going out there to help out, one, because I get to be out in nature. And two, I really, really like the community. The community is just awesome. And this is an event that if you're familiar with like the Fallout video games, This is a weekend of live action role play Fallout. All kinds of people in different costumes they put together, and then they occasionally play play a little airsoft out in the field. But it's more completing quests and seeing the different costume builds. And they've spent a lot of work on the field and the parking lot. So it was a little challenging because the first time we'd seen the parking lot in this layout. But I mean, with over 1,000 people on the field, it was crazy.
That sounds like a lot of fun, but a lot of people at the same time.
Well, I mean, I was definitely in some physical pain because I haven't been out walking around standing like that, and it's like, you know, stretching and all of that.
Yep.
But I wouldn't trade it. I do have a couple of thoughts on the food, and I made a comment. It's like, next year I want to do the cooking on the field versus whoever it was who was cooking, because I just got to tell you this. All right, so
break it down for us. Break it down, Scuba. What's going on with the food?
They had somebody out there cooking hot dogs, and I don't think they ever learned how to cook hot dogs on a grill, because when we got our hot dogs, half the hot dogs we got were still cold.
That is not good.
Not quite so warm, but the thing that was the worst, the absolute worst, was that minute you took a bite in it, you couldn't tell if you had a hot dog or drank a bottle of lighter fluid, because the fluid taste was so strong.
Well, that is not good. So somebody doesn't know how to grill.
I've told this a couple of times, but the taste was so strong and lingered so long that one of the guys had a bag of like those nacho Doritos chips. The kind where it's like you pull the chip out, it's got like the dark red spice all over it. You could eat a couple of those and it still wouldn't get the taste out of your mouth.
It doesn't sound like they actually cooked the hot dog. If you taste a lot of
very well, no. And I made a comment, but it gave birth to an idea.
Yeah.
And still gonna run this idea and see how it goes. But I think it's gonna be a great idea.
All right.
And I think it's gonna be Scuba's Wasteland Diner.
You should probably do it. It sounds good in my book with that name.
Just get out there, go out there, do some cooking, but we'll see how that goes when we get to Fertile Crescent and let you go on that. But the idea of Spawn, and it fit in well with my role as doing the parking for the event and whatnot, so it could be a lot of fun. Maybe do some design work and things like that. But that was the weekend, so it was a very long weekend. I think it was like 5:30 in the morning till like 8-9 o'clock at night.
Yep, that is pretty long, but hey, you got through it and it was fun.
Oh yeah, always had a great time. Always have a great time. In fact, we have our holiday. There's the holiday party on Monday, so I'm gonna go and hang out for part of that. So it should be fun. Let's see what we got next.
All right, so we got a lot on deck, but we can probably move through these pretty quick. But other than that, one of the other reasons that I didn't go see movies, with no movies out, I usually try to catch up on TV stuff that I might miss.
Yeah, I see you got a thing in here. You finally caught up on the show Yellowstone. That's with Kevin Costner in it, right?
Yeah.
And it spawned off 2 prequel series. I think the next one that's about to drop is going to have Harrison Ford.
Yeah, I don't know too much about the prequel series. Haven't watched them. They're both on Paramount Plus. 1883, which stars Tim McGraw and Faith Hill, and then the next one is 1923, which stars Harrison Ford and Helen Mirren. So that's going to be good, and they're basically prequels to the Yellowstone.
You got a little byline in here. I shouldn't have waited this long to watch this show. Okay, tell me about Yellowstone.
So I decided finally, because season 5 of Yellowstone started back a few weeks ago, and I hadn't gotten through all of the 4 seasons. So because of interesting TV deals or not, Yellowstone is a Paramount product, which is being the first 4 seasons are on Peacock. What's going on with that deal? It's not my problem. But I have Peacock, so I watched it on Peacock. So, Yellowstone, like you said, is a show that focuses on ranchers in Montana, and it explicitly focuses on the Dutton family that run the largest ranch in Montana called the Yellowstone Dutton Ranch, commonly known as the Yellowstone. So basically, the 4 seasons, it revolves around the family drama that deals with the Dutton family, but also with the political intrigue of trying to protect not only the ranch, but try to protect their way of life as well as fighting off conflicts dealing with the Indian reservation, the national park, and also developers. So Kevin Costner is the big wig who plays the role of John Dutton, and then he has two sons and a daughter that play in there, Casey, Beth, and Jamie Dutton, and then another character that is prominent, which is one of his like ranch hands, goes by the name of Rip. So why I gave you that tagline within our notes is because this show is phenomenally written, and the character drama is one where it does a great job of mixing in the intrigue of the drama, the situation of where the drama is happening, because it deals with all the dynamics of the political and social economic conflicts within Montana, dealing with the fact you're dealing with the Indian reservation, you're dealing with the national park and environmentalists, you're dealing with the developers trying to move in and trying to do things. But the wheeling and dealing is done such in a very methodical and conversational pace that when the action happens and when conflict happens, it's all driven through smart dialogue. And that's because this show is written and produced by a man, you might recognize his name, is Taylor Sheridan, and he is a very phenomenal writer, and he's done so many different kind of shows. One of the things that he's written, which is one of my favorite films of all time, which is Hell or High Water. He is the guy that they go to who has been deemed as the person that's been the king of the modern day Western. So basically, when you're watching Yellowstone, it's a very modern day Western with very immediate societal influences, but it's very much at the heart and hearken of a Western tale, which is character drama, dialogue driven, and visceral action when it happens.
And literally what Kevin Costner is best at.
Yeah. So some of the other shows that he's working on or worked on and written, you have 1883 and 1923, which are prequels. He also has two other shows on Paramount Plus. He has a pretty good deal on Paramount Plus. Mayor of Kingstown, which is a Jeremy Renner-led show where he plays a warden, is that what it is, of the prison system. And then a new show that's come out on Paramount Plus starring Sylvester Stallone called Tulsa Kings, which is a mobster story where he comes out of prison and he's forced to, try to start his life again in Tulsa, Oklahoma. A lot of the dynamics in the writing is so good, and the characters, there's no good or bad. It's all a matter about choice and consequence, what makes a good drama and good Western. It's all about choice.
Yeah, well, that's what a lot of things are now. It's like you can find certain things. It's like, okay, here's a clear-cut bad guy.
So some other films you might recognize, which are very prominent, other than Hell or High Water, which was very big. Sicario. He wrote Sicario, and he wrote Sicario de Soldado. He wrote and directed a very underrated film with Jeremy Renner and WandaVision. What's Wanda actress? Elizabeth Olsen, called Wind River.
I saw
very
that. I
underrated.
Really liked that.
And then another two films that he wrote is Without Remorse and Those Who Wish Me Dead, which are films that came out in 2021.
Wait, but we watched Those Who Wish Me Dead.
Yeah.
That's the one with
That's the firefighters. Yeah, the firefighters. And Without Remorse is the Tom Clancy movie with Michael B. Jordan.
I've seen that too.
So.
Okay, I'm a fan. I'm a fan.
So if you've seen those films or seen the stories, then you will more than likely enjoy Yellowstone, because it's very dynamic and it's not predictable, because you really don't know what the heck's going to happen in the next episode. So
nice.
So that's just a recommendation of a show that I caught up 4 seasons. It took a while to get through in a few weeks. So now I'm caught up for season 5. I would recommend it to everybody, and also you, Scoop. You have Peacock. I know you have Peacock.
Yes, I do have Peacock. Alrighty, so next up you got some anime.
Yep.
Spy vs. Family and Chainsaw Man.
2 different distinct anime. So every season every season has new anime, or at least returning anime coming in each season. So in the fall season we also have bigwigs like My Hero, everybody knows that, and a few others. But some ones that people might not know about, which have started up, is Chainsaw Man, which is a very gruesome action adult-rated story which focuses on a world where devils are born from human fear, and it focuses on a specific character who makes a contract with the chainsaw devil, and basically it focuses on him and him working with this group of what they call the Public Safety Commission, which are devil hunters, which have to hunt these devils. And it's basically you focus on that and the dynamic of them trying to hunt this. And now what they are focusing on is trying to find the gun devil. And the last 4 episodes I watched, it was very violent, very gruesome, but it plays on one spectrum of the anime, which is hyper violence, the anime comic and stuff. But it is definitely really good. It's not as fun. I saw your face in the window. It's not it's funny. It's very gruesome.
Well, I mean, when you think about the character art with a guy who has chainsaws for hands and a chainsaw coming out of his head.
Yeah, that's
I don't see that being warm and fuzzy.
No, it's not warm and fuzzy.
Scissor hands.
Yeah, it's very adult oriented. So think of your more violent, and it's made by Mappa Studios, who also does Attack on Titan anime. So if you're familiar with that animation,
looks familiar.
Yeah, if you're familiar with the animation, it is very gruesome but very on point. The other one,
Spy vs. Family, this feels like it might be a tongue-in-cheek
so
comic.
this one is more of a of the comedic anime, but family fun, weird anime drama. And what it is, it focuses on 2 rival nations, Westala and Ostania, and they're basically fighting each other. And the main spy from the Westalian continent, he goes by the name of Twilight, it's tasked to infiltrate Ostania and basically take out a leader. But the way he has to do it is he has to get into the school with a adopted kid so he can get close enough to this guy to kill him. So it focuses on this family that he makes up, which the family is called the Forger family, play on words. And what's interesting is that he adopts a girl by the name of Anya and then marries a woman by the name of Yor. But the interesting dynamic is that he is a spy, she is an assassin, and the girl is a telepath. But none of the 3 know what each other does, except for the girl, who is a telepath, so she can read everything. And then they also, in the 2nd season, which is playing right now, they get a dog and they name him Bond, who also can foresee the future. So it's a mixture of aloof action, some comical relief, but you know, it is violent too. So when the action happens, it is, if you're familiar with anime violence, it is pretty good. But it's very kind of fun and aloof and fun to watch in a very ironic way.
Oh,
if you're familiar with anime comedy or just anime tropes, you will love this show.
Yeah, I think I've seen the Chainsaw Man on my Hulu feed, but I haven't been interested in it.
Yeah.
I'm currently rewatching Gundam Wing because that's like my go-to when I'm bored.
Yeah, I would for your Tyndalls to try out, I would say look for Spy Family. I think it's on Hulu as well. I watch all my anime in Crunchyroll, but I believe it's on Hulu as well. I would say for Chainsaw Man, watch the 1st episode. If you don't like the 1st episode, just move on to the next one.
That's how I felt about JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I could not get behind that one.
Yeah, there's a lot of, trust me, I watch a lot of anime. That doesn't mean I finish every anime I watch. I give it the 1st episode. When it comes to anime, it's that 1st episode. If it doesn't hook me in that 1st episode, I move on to the next one. Because
I think, to be fair, you give it the first 3 to really establish the story, the characters and the story, and then go from there.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I use that trend for regular TV shows, even foreign TV shows like K-dramas, because it usually takes that. But what I've noticed in the most recent adaptations over the last few years, anime, it's that 1st episode.
So what'd you think about BTS's guy going to join the army?
That is, I think that is part of Korean law, where they have to join in after a certain amount of years. So I think it's similar to Israel, where everybody has to go through.
A lot of countries have a requirement.
So South Korea is the same way. When I saw that, I know it was sad for a lot of people that I know are BTS fan, and I know a lot of BTS fans. So
you said K-drama, I was like, oh yeah, I remember. I caught that. I caught a snippet about him joining the army and all this support and whatnot.
Oh yeah. So, but yeah, those are just some recommendations. We do a little bit of spin difference. Do recommendations for other people out there. And also for you, Scoob, to add something in your warehouse.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
Spy Family, I think you'll enjoy. Chainsaw, watch the first episode. If you don't, just move on to the next one.
We'll see. I was just watching the new Tales from the Borderlands game movie, and that one took me a few days to sit through because it was kind of slow.
Yep. Is that an actual anime, or is that just like tailored videos from the game?
It's the game. They got gameplay in it, but it's a Telltale game, so it's a choose your own adventure kind of deal. Yeah.
Okay.
You have to do if you've played Wolf Among Us and The Walking Dead, the other ones.
Didn't they do a Batman one?
They did a Batman one. They did a Tales from the Borderlands, and this is their second Borderlands themed game, and it's nice because if you're a fan of the franchise, this will pay off in nods and references and callbacks to all of the previous Borderland games. So but it was a little slow getting through the story, but overall not a bad game. Probably now I guess it's one of those, if you're really into the Telltale games, you'll sit and play it. So I'm off to seeing whatever the next one is. But speaking of video games and craziness, let's talk about this news that Universal Studios is opening Super Nintendo World. And this is in California.
Yes.
And they have an actual date.
Yep. So this is from an article from IGN. Japan already has a Nintendo World, and so what they decided is like, hey, let's go ahead and expand. So Nintendo Universal made a deal a while back to build a Super Nintendo World in Universal Studios Hollywood in California, and they have an official opening date, which is February 17th of 2023.
So 2 months from now.
Yep. So the first park, which is in Universal Studios Japan, opened up in March 18th of 2021. So this is the second one.
Okay.
So what is it? Basically, as you read the quote from here, quote, the Super Nintendo World will take you into the world of Super Mario, Battle Team Bowser on the groundbreaking Mario Kart ride. There's a Mario Kart ride, people. Play interactive games throughout the land and track your score with a power-up band. Dine at Toadstool Cafe, meet Mario and friends, and purchase exclusive merch at the 1-Up Factory store. So that's the description. Yeah. And not only that, but they plan on expanding the one in Japan with a Donkey Kong theme expansion, as well as they've signed an official deal with Pokemon Company. So they'll have Pokemon theme attractions as part of Super Nintendo World.
Okay. Well, let's move on with some more video game stuff.
One more tidbit from it. Not only are they building one in Universal Studios California, but you know they have Universal Studios in Orlando.
Yeah.
So they're planning to open that one in 2025. So not only will we have one in America, we'll have two.
You know, I've never been down there for any of those parks, so maybe I'll get down there one of these days.
I've been to Universal Studios. It's amazing.
All right. Well, last week we talked about the nominees for the Video Game Awards.
Yes, sir.
And since then, the Video Game Awards have happened.
Yes, sir.
And interesting, I think I have a prediction that came true.
You did have some predictions, quite a few predictions that came true.
Here we have the results, and oddly enough, Elden Ring took top prize with game design, art direction, and best RPG.
As well as the big
game of the year.
Yeah, so they took 4 of the major awards, but God of War took a lot of the other awards, including best action game
and best actor.
Yep.
With so that was great, and best game adaptation. We talked about it. Arcane.
We talked about it.
Arcane.
I best from that list that we were talking about. I looked at that list. I enjoyed a lot of this, but by far, a mile long, Arcane was the front runner and solid winner of that one.
Solid.
Yeah. So those are just some notable ones I pulled. Anything that caught your eye when you were looking at the list?
I just bits and pieces. I know I'm a little disappointed that Horizon didn't get a whole lot, but yeah. I'm glad they got the nominations. But the other side of watching the Video Game Awards is also seeing all the new information they drop.
Yep. So they did a lot of game announcements, and I did put some notable ones. These are just notable ones that I'm looking forward to.
This is right up our gaming style, dude. So I think you got it. I mean, let's start with Star Wars Jedi Survivor.
Yeah.
Which is the sequel to Fallen Order.
Yeah, which is an amazing game, and one game that kicked my butt so much that I had to lower the difficulty once I got to one boss. I could not beat him, so I had to lower it down to beat him.
Well, if it's Vader, it's understandable.
Well, Vader, when you fight Vader in that game, it's a no-win situation. Okay. So you can't even fight him. You're literally running away.
I mean, plot armor is plot armor, regardless.
So, but Star Wars Jedi Survivor, they not only just released a teaser, but they actually released gameplay video, which I much appreciate when you release stuff. So whenever there's these
well, it's looking to come out in March. I mean, that's like, hey, we're just flying under the radar. No one's paying attention, and boom.
This guy's paying attention, because not only is Resident Evil 4 Remake coming out in March, Star Wars Jedi Survivor comes out in March. So guess who's getting 2 games at least next year?
Well, then also From Software is releasing Armored Core 6.
Yes. So their next game, it's not an RPG or fantasy. They're switching it up and doing mecha. And they're doing another entry into the Armored Core series.
I remember this Armored Core franchise kind of deal. It's kind of that Mech Warrior style of game.
So they said this isn't, don't think they're going to Demon Souls it up like the rest of the games. They're actually, they're going to develop it to be, like a mecha fighter shooting game. So they released just like a cinematic, just an announcement that that's their next game from Software, which is, I'm going to look forward to that. And I really don't like a lot of mecha stuff, but there's always 1 or 2 that grab my eye.
It's on Game Pass. I may give it a shot.
Yep.
Speaking of Game Pass and stuff like that, let's talk about Cyberpunk 2077. Their expansion, Phantom Liberty, dropped a pretty notable cast member.
So everybody knows about the debacle with 2077, but after they fixed that, a lot of people realized it's a pretty dang good game. And not only are they improved the game or not, they're releasing an expansion with a very big name, a person that you're very familiar with. Idris Elba is going to be joining the cast and playing a character by the name of Solomon Reed.
I'm curious. I thought about diving back into it.
Yeah. So basically,
then we have some news on Diablo 4 and Street Fighter 6. Finally, Diablo 4, which has been in development hell for years, is finally getting a release date of June 2023, along with Street Fighter 6.
Yes, sir.
And the last bit of one, which I'm personally excited for because I enjoy this franchise, and that is Horizon Forbidden West is getting an expansion, The Burning Shores, which is going to drop in April of 2023.
Yep. So those are just some notable ones. They had a lot more that they released, but just thinking of ones that I thought would be interesting. Another one that is being developed is this new Transformers Reactivation, which is supposed to be an online action game developed by Splash Damage. So that's another one. I was just scrolling back through the list.
2023 looks like it's going to be a pretty wild year.
Yeah. So if you look at the link, go to IGN and you look at everything that they announced, there's a pretty long list of stuff. I'm looking forward to that Cyberpunk expansion, because if you play through the game, there's a lot of open area where you could tell that they are supposed to be adding in stuff. So this new character is going to be like an ex-Marine military guy that you'll be focusing and following through. So it'll be interesting to see what happens, especially knowing that Cyberpunk had like multiple different endings. It's kind of interesting to see how they're going to build off. Yeah. But other than that, Star Wars Jedi Survivor, I'm day one purchasing that. There's no hesitation about it.
You got it. I think there was a new game dropped, Warhammer side. There was Dark Tide.
Yes, that was another announcement.
That's on Game Pass, but my buddy bought me a copy on Steam as a Christmas gift, so I'm gonna be checking that out here soon. See how much fun that is.
Okay, so, yep, those are some big things from the Game Awards.
Yeah. Alrighty, and now we're on to some odds and ends.
Yes, sir.
We're just cruising right through tonight.
All right, so odds and ends are just a bunch of articles that your illustrious Rye Guy finds that Scuba waits till the show to look at him because he knows that I appreciate his reactions, good, bad, or in the middle of what I find. So, first article, does it tickle your fancy?
I mean, you live out in the wood, you live out in a rural area, you're bound to have some kind of goofy animal come rolling through, but a cow smashes through the physician's office doors.
Yeah.
In Virginia?
Yeah, so this is out of a ABC affiliate from Orange County, Virginia, which is right north of Charlottesville. So about 2.5 hours away from here. So
650-pound cow recently had to be rescued from a doctor's office. The cow was in the middle of being taken and sold to the King's Cattle Company when it jumped off the trailer, made its way on an eighth of a mile down the road to this physician's office.
So yeah, so when Lamb and Crawford arrived, the cow was scared, quote, and ran around the building, ultimately smashing through the glass doors of the office. Wow. Yeah, and then when it shattered the glass, it just kept on running.
Well, I remember I was watching a video on Instagram the other night where it's like this group of this family is having a conversation and chatting, and one looks to the door, and standing in the doorway is a black bear.
Yep, I saw that video.
Chilling and looking around, and it's like as soon as it left, they're like, "Shut the door."
Yeah, I saw that video, and if would that happen, I'd be like, you know what, this non-religious guy is about to pray to somebody.
Oh, this next story, really, California, really?
Yes.
California girl is licensed to own a unicorn.
Yep.
And she finds one.
So this is actually more of a fun and kind of creative thing. So if you want to go ahead, you can read the article if you want.
A little girl with a vivid imagination and remarkable awareness of how bureaucracy can dash your dreams got her wish when she asked the Los Angeles Animal Control authorities to license to own a unicorn if she was able to find one.
Yeah, it does have strings attached to it because it says that, quote, the mythical creature must be provided ample exposure to sunlight, moonbeams, and rainbows, and have its horns polished at least once a month with a soft cloth. So this is from the director, Marcia May of the County Department of Animal Care and Control, sent the girl a heart-shaped rose-colored metal tag with permanent unicorn license emboldened on it, along with a white fuzzy unicorn doll with pink ears, purple hooves, and a silver corn.
Yeah, I mean, this is cute. I like this because the kid knew it's one of those things is like the kid's request is just one of those you just can't say no.
And it's kind of cool because they also put what she wrote in the letter. So this is from the letter that she wrote to the LA County director. It says, "Dear LA County, I would like your approval if I can have a unicorn in my backyard if I can find one." So they went ahead and obliged and sent it to her. And in the article, which is from our wavy.com, and they have a picture of the unicorn as well as the heart-shaped license tag on it. So I thought that was a cool little thing.
Yeah, it is. It is. And now for something that's cool and kind of like, wait, what?
Yeah. So, we always, here on Scuba and The RY, and when we come to Odds and Ends, we always find some interesting articles where they deal with food and drinks, and, you know, some of them sound pretty cool to do, some of them make your mind cringing. This one is a mixture of, but maybe, just maybe, I might try it.
IHOP is making cereal.
Yes, so this is from foodandwine.com. So, IHOP, which everybody's familiar with, is a breakfast restaurant, and they are very well renowned for their pancakes. So, evolving from that idea, which was inspired by a viral video from TikTok, was taking their pancakes and making it a cereal. So they decided, hey, why not? Let's do that.
Cinnamon Toast Crunch, we got Golden Grams, we got Cookie Crisp. I mean, it's not like this is going to be completely new, but and part of me is thinking this is like, really? It took you how long to come up with this idea?
Yeah. So as quoting, they said after the viral moment in 2020, we knew guests had an appetite for an IHOP cereal. So Kira Donahue, the chain's chief marketing officer, decided to okay, let's go ahead and team up and create this thing. It's called IHOP Blueberry and Syrup Mini Pancake Cereal, and it's described as, quote, lots of itty bitty pancake shaped pieces with a crunchy blueberry pancake flavor.
It even has a restaurant. It even has the recipe here.
Yep. So it is a limited edition cereal and expected to arrive in select retailers later this month before being available nationwide in January.
All right, our last story for tonight is about a museum.
Yep. So I started a new kind of segment within the odds and ends is what weird museum can Rye Guy find? So we had
that can broaden out to not just museum, but just weird attractions.
Okay, I'll branch it off and see if I can find in that for the next month.
We talked about the Gundam statue. We talked about the Evangelion thing. We talked about Super Nintendo World. We talked about
the museum in the Netherlands where you walk through the body, the cup noodle soup museum in Japan. So every once a month, I just like, okay, so I decided to make this a segment. At least once a month, I will find either an interesting, monument or museum or both in the same day. And
this one, if you are a shoe fanatic, insert joke here. This is a museum dedicated to shoes.
So the name of this museum is the Bata Shoe Museum, and it's not too far for our locale. It is located in Toronto, Canada. And quoting from the About Us section of the website for the museum is, quote, regularly displays over 1,000 shoes and related artifacts chosen from a collection of nearly 15,000 objects in architect Raymond Morium's iconic award-winning building. So they have ranged from, quote, Chinese-bound foot shoes and ancient Egyptian sandals to chestnut-crushing clogs and glamorous platforms. Over 4,500 years of history are reflected in our permanent exhibits. So this is a museum all about shoes and all about different creating, but it's kind of intriguing just the fact of seeing the evolution of shoes through all the millennia and all the different cultures. So
it'd be weird to think about how footwear.
Yeah.
Steel-toe boots from 1971, Egyptian sandals from 1500 to 1200 BCE.
Yep.
Queen Victoria's silk shoes from 1840.
Got a lot of stuff in here. So
sealskin boots from 1986.
Yep. So, it is the largest and most comprehensive collection of shoes and footwear-related objects anywhere in the world. But it also provides educational experience of that. So, if you were to visit this museum, it is open
Monday through Friday and Saturday.
And you range prices from anywhere from $5 to $14. Family package from $24 to $35. 10 to 5 p.m., like you said, Monday through Friday.
Very interesting.
Yep. So look forward to that kind of interesting museums or monuments that I'll find every month. So once a month, we explore. What will Rye Guy find next? Well, you have to wait till January to find out what he finds.
Yeah. Well, next week is going to be our last show for 2022. So it'll be our year in review, look to the future, all that fun stuff. So be sure to check that out when it drops. Thank you everyone for listening and for watching. Thank you, Rye. Thank you, Sirenscape, for all the background music and soundboards.
Sirenscape.
Yep. Go check out sirenscape.com for all their offerings and their online players. It's really a lot of fun. I think they just dropped some new Cyberpunk material.
That's kind of cool.
So it'd be cool to check that out. But yeah, if you be sure to give us a like, a follow, a subscribe, all those things to help, keep getting the word out about our show.
Yes,
and
sir.
Tell us what you think. And with that, we will see you all next week and get ready for the end of 2022. Hopefully 2023 will be not as mental.
Peace. Hopefully not. Peace with you.